so awesome. Okay, round two, get the lube. Round two, lube up, boys. Alright guys, I can finally start my garage channel again. Man, it's been forever, but I spent all yesterday working on the Volkswagen 1.8 turbo on the exhaust. I got a tune for it on Tuesday. Then on Monday, I spent all day working on the intake system. And then Thursday and Friday, losing track of the days, I just spent a little bit of one day. But anyway, basically 1.5 days getting the exhaust. Oh man, it was a battle. My legs are so, they haven't been this sore. It feels like I've been doing deadlifts. It's crazy. But so currently, it's straight piped. Just, you know, when you're upgrading the exhaust, you gotta straight pipe it just to see how it sounds for a little bit, right? You gotta do it. So, but now, you know, it's ridiculously loud, obviously. There's a piece of my resonator that rusted off that I found when I was doing this. So here's the stock exhaust, and we're gonna be slapping that back on. And now the biggest restriction will be these mufflers, but it's still gonna be way better than it was. And at some point I will replace the mufflers with some freer flowing ones, but man, now that the intake and exhaust is all free flowing, oh my god, this turbo spools so easy. You barely touch the gas. It's like, woo, spools right up. It sounds like a tractor. I mean, it sounds terrible, obviously, because there's like no mufflers on it, but I'm going to drive it over to the garage and we can try to get the exhaust put back on. So that's the goal for today. But first, let me just show you where I got to. Here's my air intake. That was like pretty complicated. Like on some cars, it's not hard to do, but and I got a heat shield from my that goes right here. That when the cat was here, it was it would hold so much heat in the engine bay that you could like literally cook food. Like it was bad. It was cooking everything in this area if you didn't open the hood after you parked the car when it was hot. But so I've got my downpipe on, I've got my intake, and I'll let you guys hear how bad it sounds, but it's so cool how the turbo, I just love hearing the turbo. See, there's the pipe right there. So that's where it ends. So then the exhaust should just slip right back on there and hang it back up, and we should be all set. I waited until a little later this morning to start up the car so that the neighbors don't get too bothered. Let's see how much you can hear the turbo. Why am I zoomed in? No. All right. Turbo spools at idle. The turbo did not spool at idle before. I love hearing the turbo. It's so great. I wish I'd done this on my A4. That car was so fun. I did not quite fit in the seats though. So it is nice having the A6/Passat body that, you know, I can fit in since I'm 6'1" now. I actually grew an inch over the last year and a half somehow. Which is crazy at like 37, but so yeah. Woo, there she is, boys. I'm so excited to be working on cars again. It's been forever. I've just been struggling with life, you know how it goes sometimes. But yeah, so man, even without the exhaust, just the intake and the tune, the car was felt so much better to drive. It always felt so sluggish, you know. It's a big heavy car with a little 4-cylinder. That turbo is just so restricted. So here's the downstream O2. I ended up cutting that. I'll give you a quick summary because it was very challenging. There's a lot of people on YouTube who have put on these downpipes, and they're just like amateur mechanics. And it's like makes it seem like it's not that hard. But man, anything you do with exhaust can be extremely difficult. So I'll just give you. I wish I showed you. I wish I videoed yesterday, but I can't get so much work done without and video at the same time, you know. All right. So what I did with the intake was, so this. If you unscrew this hose clamp and pull this hose off of here, it allows you to move this to the side. So then you pretty much have a lot of room to get the air box out. And there's a sensor, mass airflow sensor here. And this round plug was here, built into this. And so the only way, see these are security torques, which I don't have a bit for. So I was like, oh man, what am I gonna do? Then I was like, oh, you know what? I can just cut a little slice in half the airbox here, and the wires can come through that slice to get the sensor out of there. So that's what I did. And then this was also connected to the airbox. That's for the air injection for like to warm up the cat faster when on cold starts. So you know, basically I'm gonna probably just put like a little filter on here so that it's not drawing in unclean air, but it's fine for now. And you know, eventually I'll remove that pump and system and everything, try to simplify this. There's a lot of vacuum stuff here that doesn't really need to be here. Like this, you know, that positive crank vent is cracked, and you know, that's not helping anything. So, but you know, the main goals were achieved. I got the stage 1 APR tune. I put on this air filter, which I used to think was so stupid. The mushroom air filters have better airflow, but at least this one has, you know, the end isn't sealed. It has an intake on the end, which is important because they did a test on Engine Masters, was like a good YouTube series years ago, and they did a shootout on all the air filters, and the one that had the best power and flow were the ones that had intakes on the top and not just the side, and they were like bowl or mushroom shaped, like the HKS filters. But anyway, there's actually a piece of wood in here that I used a hole saw. Well, I tried to use a hole saw. It was almost the perfect size, a 3-inch hole saw, but it was not quite perfect. There goes the chipmunk. So here's my two. See, this was my first cut. It wasn't quite right, and then this is the one I ended up using. Here's the first one I tried to do. So the 3-inch hole saw was just a little bit too big to fit on the mass airflow sensor. I used a jigsaw, and you know what? Actually, the mass airflow sensor, you know, mason jars. They've got, you know, the small mason jars. The lid for the small mason jar is the exact size of this mass airflow intake. So I traced a circle with that to cut around it. And I gave myself a little bit of extra, you know, I cut it a little bit snug first, so that had to be sanded. And I used a drill bit to like go around the inside of the wooden hole to like mill it out until it like was nice and snug. And it's still not like perfect. I think what I'm gonna do is, as you can see, it was like a snug fit at first, but actually when the car warms up, this is really snug. But when it's cold, it's a tiny bit loose. Like this, the filter to the wood is secure since I put this clamp on it, but the wood to the mass airflow is tiny bit loose when the car is cold, which, you know, it's not really a big deal. There's not, you know, as long as you're not driving through a sandstorm, you know. But what I'm gonna do is probably get some like RTV gasket maker or whatever, and just seal that try to glue that wooden piece on to the intake, and then just use the clamp to get the filter on and off the wood. And the wood will just stay sealed to the intake with some gasket makers, what my plan's going to be. So after I did that, then the last 2 days, yesterday, it took me all day yesterday and an hour the day before to do the downpipe. And so basically this bolt here and that bolt there, and then there's one underneath. And those are all 17 millimeter. This O2, I'm not sure what the exact size this O2 is, but a 22 millimeter fits it perfect, like very snug. So what I did was, so there's these, and you can see down there, those bolts, I couldn't get undone. So I took the whole thing out as two pieces. So basically I used a 17 wrench to get these, to get this bolt, and to get that bolt there. And I was surprised at how not over tightened they were from the factory. They were like the perfect tightness. Like it didn't take a ton. It took like some effort to loosen them, but not like a ton. Like sometimes stuff is like crazy tight, but I was very happily surprised that they weren't over tightened and it just took like a nice amount of effort to loosen them. I didn't have to like get an extension or hammer on the wrench or anything like that. So after I got, these two with the wrench, and then underneath the third one, I had to get from underneath the car. I had to put a socket with a swivel to get that third one loose from underneath the car. So once those three were loose, then what I did was make lots of noise as I get off underneath the ground. That's what happens when you get old. I need to jack up the car so you can see, but so there's a clamp that goes there for the entire back half of the exhaust. So I took that clamp off, slid the whole back of the exhaust off, and then this entire pipe that you see coming down to halfway down the car, I need to jack it up so you can see, oh, you can almost see here. So it goes up there. I'll jack it up and give you a better view, but since this pipe normally unbolts, but I couldn't get it, here, I'll jack up the car so you can see. But there's a bracket that holds that pipe on underneath the car, and I ended up cutting that. Here, I'll show you. Hold on, let me get this car jacked up. I'm reminding myself of, what was that YouTube channel, Taylor something? He would video like pulling the car out, putting the jack in. He'd literally video every single step of everything he did to the point where it was like ridiculous. I almost feel like that now, showing you jacking up the car. I was almost going to skip it. But oh, this angle, I need to put this on the opposite way, I think. But I got this snap-on jack at a yard sale for cheap. It was like 40 bucks or something. It's such a nice jack. I had to get this car up so high in the air that it looked actually scary. It was like 45 degrees. That jack was almost up at full height. And then on top of that, I had to get this other jack and jack this side up a little bit too, to get the car high enough off the ground that that pipe going halfway into the car had enough length to come up out of here without hitting the ground. So that's how and then I got to those bolts that I couldn't get while it was in there. It was a process, but let me get this, hold on. All right, I'm gonna get this thing jacked up and show you underneath what I was talking about. And, forgive my my attire. It is hot, and I don't like wearing shorts, so you know. Also, I have a broken ankle. I have like arthritis and stuff, and if I don't wear Birkenstocks, my foot hurts to walk on. That's why I'm wearing these. A lot of people ask and like point that out, which is kind of annoying. But it's great that my foot doesn't hurt anymore, really. So that's nice. I always use a piece of wood to jack up these Audis and Volkswagens because they don't have like, they've got this metal frame thing that bends if you just like put too much force on it. So if you spread it out over a piece of wood, it doesn't really bend it. Not that it matters that much, but you know, it's kind of nice not to bend the metal under your car. So let's see if we can get this here. Oh, here she comes. She's a man-eater. Whoa. Yeah, right by the jack location, there's a long, thin, you know, it's like a seam, like a welded seam or whatever. And the stock jack has like a little pocket to fit into it. But, here's my nice cup. I knew I shouldn't have left that on the ground. I was actually a little bit afraid working underneath this car, which I think you should be. So I think it's a healthy thing to, you know, I put a jack stand underneath the frame after I jacked it up just for extra safety, but it's still terrifying thinking of what would happen if this freaking 4,000-pound beast came down on me. It's so funny, I've been watching these like Pole Barn Garage videos where he restores old cars, and it's like, for me, this is an old car. I like restoring fuel-injected old cars, like that Toyota I got over there, the pickup. I bought for $1,500. That's a whole story I can go into too, along with my Corvette. I've got a bunch of fun stuff I can show you guys. I've got a sport bike, I've got a dirt bike to be worked on. I've got all sorts of fun stuff. But let's get this out of here. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. Oh my god. Okay. Ow, my hair. Okay, so see? Wow, this is not okay. So, this is a bracket right here. This is bracket. There used to be a bracket on this right here. See if I can get an angle. Yeah, you see all that? That bracket was sticking down like 2 or 3 inches. And I cut it off with a cutoff wheel. Because that's what was blocking it from coming up out of the engine bay. So, let's see here. If I can get, geez, cars are all about angles and reaching stuff. You know, it's so hard to do. You can't really see, because like I can't shine the light in the same direction as the, you can almost see, but there, yeah, so there's like bolts up there and the flange. If I could have gotten those bolts off, it would have been way easier, but I couldn't. Another minor thing to note is the, after putting on the downpipe, the flex pipe is actually in contact with the transmission down here, which I don't think it was before. So it was rattling it at like some lower RPMs since it's touching the transmission. So hopefully when it's all bolted up with the full exhaust, it won't rattle at those low RPMs anymore. But yeah, so what I had to do was, it was dangerous and scary. Like those cutoff wheels are so scary and dangerous. The death wheel, like Finnegan calls them. So after I unbolted those 3 bolts up top, this whole pipe section dropped down to like here. So it was easier to reach with the cutoff wheel and cut it. So here's the pieces. What I wouldn't do for a lift. Okay, so there's the pieces of the bracket. It took me, I had to cut it off in like a bunch of different slices because I didn't want to cut the pipe, you know, obviously. So I was just going careful, and it was some thick metal, man. That thing was like way overbuilt for holding up a piece of exhaust. It's crazy, dude. That bracket could hold like 300 pounds easy. It was like, I was cutting through it, and I was like, oh my god, this is like tough to cut through. So yeah, after I got that bracket cut off, and then those 3 bolts out there, then the whole thing I could pull up like halfway out of the engine bay, enough to reach the O2 sensors with a wrench, because I couldn't really get them, O2 sensors, while this was in the stock location, because I could get a wrench on it, but I couldn't turn it, because it was just hitting things. So once those 3 bolts were loose, and that bracket down there, and the exhaust was taken off, and the bracket down there was cut, then I could pull it up and I got this front, the number 1 upstream O2 sensor off. The number 2, I still couldn't get a wrench on it. There's that chipmunk running around. You can hear him. He's so funny. He used to come in the house sometimes. Maybe we can spot him if we're lucky at some point. Chipmunk, where are you? Chippy, chippy. He's so funny. He just runs around and looks at me in the garage. Even after getting those 3 bolts off and cutting that bracket, and so this pipe could be pulled halfway out of the engine bay, I still couldn't get a wrench on the downstream O2 sensor. So I ended up pulling the wire and following it. My Android is freezing again. My iPhone's unloading on the computer, so I took out this coolant reservoir. So there's 3 screws there. And then I took off that clamp, and on the bottom there's a sensor that unplugs. And that allowed me to reach behind it, which is where all the sensors plug in. And you can see this sensor's unplugged here. So the closest one to the engine for me ended up being the downstream O2 sensor. And I confirmed that by pulling on it and watching this connector move. And I wanted to just unplug it and pull it through so I could bolt it on the new system so I didn't have to cut anything. But I couldn't get it through. So obviously I don't need a downstream O2 sensor anymore. So I ended up just cutting the wires and I stuffed them back behind the engine. And yeah, so after I did that, you know, the 3 bolts there, cut off the bracket, front O2 sensor number 1 unscrewed, cut the second one, then it was free. And at that point, you know, those bolts down there, I couldn't get them undone. So that's why, so I cut off the bracket and then I jacked the car up so high that you could pull both of those pipes out as a single piece. Because that pipe there, you can see how long it is. I mean, the car has to be as high off the ground as that pipe is long from the bend there, basically. So the car was I'm glad if I didn't have this jack and that other jack, I wouldn't have been able to do it. And then after I got those out, after I pulled that whole, that pipe and the connector pipe down there that are connected together out as one piece, then I was able to get those 3 bolts unscrewed when it was out of the car. And even when it was out of the car, one of the bolts was still so rusted that I had to cut it off with a grinder, with a, you know, the angle grinder cutoff wheel. And so I had to buy 1 new bolt, and that's why the bottom one is silver and the top 2 are rusty, because the top 2 are the stock ones and the bottom one is the new one I had to buy. And so yeah, got that bolted up, put the whole thing down back through as one piece, those 2 pipes together, bolted the 3 17mm on, put the O2 sensor on, and yeah, man, it was such a battle. I'm so sore and tired. I was almost gonna not even work on it today, maybe, but yeah. So now all we got to do is grab that exhaust system out there and just slide it back on, and you know, put the hangers back in the rubber holders, and we should be all set. Oh yeah, I wanted to show you. So I actually got this downpipe from Walmart. It was weird. I searched online, and that's like who was selling it. Here's the old intake gasket from the turbo. I ended up not using this one for the lower pipe connection because they included 2 gaskets and they're different, and I didn't know that, and so I thought it didn't fit, but I was really trying to fit the wrong gasket. Anyway, what I really wanted to show you was that these bolts do not fit. So they're too big, they're too wide. So I had to use all the stock bolts. The funny thing is, after I bought this, I remembered years ago I actually did buy a downpipe for my other old Audi A4, so I think I probably didn't even have to buy this. I think I could have just dug through my old room and found the other one that I bought like 10 years ago, but whatever. It was like pretty cheap, so like $60 or something. Anyway, yeah, so it's pretty much how I did it. So now, I mean, I'm still recovering from a rotator cuff tear. So I'm considering using the tractor or maybe getting my dad to help me carry this exhaust over because it's kind of heavy. I mean, I carried it out myself, but I don't want to, every time I think my body's healing and doing good, then I keep going and then I end up hurting it. So it's like I did a lot yesterday, so I'm not going to try to push it today. But yeah, I'm just going to slide that back under, clamp it on, and it should be pretty nice because I don't want a loud car. I want it to be not restrictive, but I also want it to be quiet. So it's going to be a nice combo actually with the stock mufflers. It's going to be interesting to see how loud it is or isn't, and how good the flow is and stuff. And eventually, like I said, I'll put some high flow mufflers on it. But here's one of the stock clamps that came off the connection where that back half of the exhaust goes on. There's like this little pipe that connected them that rusted out, and I replaced it a few years ago when I bought the car. And when I replaced it, I used these exhaust clamps, you know, the typical auto store exhaust clamps. These are the ones that came off, but it was leaking. Like you couldn't hear the leak, but if you stopped and the windows were rolled up, you would smell like exhaust. So these round ones are actually better because these are really, they just like pinch in 2 directions and then it like leaks Whereas these round ones, these Germans, they do it right. Everything's engineered perfectly, like really nice. So this actually, I'm gonna slide this on, and I think I do have another one somewhere, but I'm not gonna use those again because, like I said, it was leaking a tiny bit. Let me see if I can show you actually. You can see, I think you can see right. Okay, so you can barely see, but the top of the exhaust right here is a different color. It's like gray. I think that's where the leak was, because the rest of it is like all rusty red, but I think it was shooting out here, and that's why it's a different color. So it was like nearly sealed, but not quite. So every time I came to a stop sign for more than like 10 seconds or a traffic light, I'd have to roll the windows down. It's kind of annoying. So I'm gonna use this stock clamp, which is much better than those auto store ones. And I have the second one. I think it was only leaking from one of the clamps, so I think this one might be enough. But I do have it. I believe I do have a second one. Oh yeah, see, I was using vitamin C, ascorbic acid, to de-rust some stuff, and it all evaporated. It's been here so long. So yeah, okay, so yeah, so I've got, oh man, living in a rusty and salted road place is like such a nightmare. But yeah, I've got a few of the good clamps here. So actually this whole thing has been soaking for like almost a year now with de-rusting ascorbic acid in it. And I've been meaning to make a video on that. I want to pour it through like a colander and see how it's doing, but whatever. So yeah, I'm gonna get that exhaust bolted up and we'll see how it goes. Get this. Up in here, up in here. Make me lose my mind. Oh, I don't want to use my right arm too much. Especially reaching forward with it does not like. Okay, so that's in there. Let's get that slid in there from the back. We're gonna slide that in and then get these mufflers hung up. Arr. Probably gonna get a jack for this. Just I'll show you when I'm done, or whatever. I don't know. Neighbor's starting up his motorcycle. I need to get my motorcycle running. That'll be some good videos. Hopefully. Oh, look at these bolts are all coming out. Oh my god. This thing is sort of on its last legs. This jack I've had for a long time and starting to sort of not work. Oh shit, heavy. I am so weak. Okay. Whew. It's hot. Hot, hot, hot. Oh yeah, it's so nice not have to lift stuff up with injured shoulders. Well, just one, but you know. Okay. A little bit down. I'll show you what I'm dealing with here. There is, see, that needs to get up to, so hard to see when you work on car. Okay, so there's the exhaust hanger. So I just need to get it up to there and slid into there basically. Very exciting, I know. I wish you guys could see better, but it's pretty hard to video and work. And why is it? Oh shit! No. So the exhaust is like too far to the side to go into the thing for some reason. So I think it might be because it's angled. So I'm gonna try to stack this up so that it's not angled so much. Oh yeah, look at that, perfect. Okay, so let's do that. Probably gonna fall, but you know. No? Good? Okay. Okay. Let's get this other one. Oh, okay. Holy moly. Okay, yeah, this one is lined up. Oh, yeah, the whole thing was just over to the side a little bit, that's all. And it's easier. Oh, see, there's this thing. That's what it was. There's a little rim going around the outside of the muffler. That catches. You have to sort of scoot it over. There, we're getting close now. Okay, I'm almost touching the hanger. And it's way easier to get these hangers on and off with WD-40 than dry. So if these don't slip right in, I'm going to have to... Okay, I need some lube in there. WD-40 is basically empty. So it only sprays if the can is perfectly level. Oh, that thing would definitely go on if I had a little bit of lube on it. I've got, oh, there we go. Okay, I got a little bit to come out. Now it should go. Now it should slide right on. Oh, yeah. Come on. Son of a... Come on. Cool if I could video with my eyes, then you can see exactly what I'm seeing. Oh. Now I'm slipping off it because of the WD-40. Oh my god. Come on now. Don't be shy. There it is. Hell yeah. Alright. Hell yeah. Dude, this exhaust is so funny on these cars. I should measure this. This is like 1 inch exhaust. I was doing the math for horsepower the other day. I found a calculator. And for 200 horsepower, I believe 2.16 inches is how big a straight pipe needs to be to not be restrictive. And that's exactly the size of the stock pipe on this car before it splits. Then when you tune it up to like 250 horsepower, which is like theoretically probably where you could get to with a stage 1 tune and intake and exhaust, then I forget, I can check online, but I think you need like a 2.5 inch exhaust to not be restrictive for 250 horsepower. And you don't want to go bigger than you need on exhaust, because when you go bigger than you need on exhaust, it makes it drone really bad and it makes it really loud. And it's totally unnecessary because, like, if you know how much flow you need for a certain amount of power, a bigger pipe than that, it's not doing anything except for being louder and more obnoxious and droning. So it's nice to have the smallest pipe you can and still not be restrictive. Okay. That one's about 1 inch away. I think we can take this block out now. Oh, look at that. No one will believe me if they didn't see it. All right. Okay. Round 2, get the lube. Round 2, lube up, boys. This would be so fun if I had some fucking friends to do this with, dude. Then the channel would be magic. It's so hard by yourself. Especially, you know, I'm not like Mr. Charisma or anything. All right, here we go. Get on there. Go to your home. It's like that saw sound this Jack makes. Jack literally makes like horror movie sounds. Okay. Okay, there we go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. She's on. She's on there. All right. Okay. Oh, we're almost done, boys. As long as those old rusty clamps clamp up, we'll be all set. Let's get our hat back on here. All right. How are we doing down here? Okay, you can see this really should slide on a little more. So You know the deal. Let's get some lube here. Lube makes everything better. Dude, dude, oh my God, my last girlfriend. Funny story. She's like, should we get some lube? And I go out like offended because I was dumb. I mean, I'm still dumb, but you know, I was even dumber. And I took it offensively when it was totally not an offensive thing. Oh my God, and that's the last time I ever saw her. So funny. Okay. Let's move this over here. All right, let's wiggle this around. And maybe that's all it's going to go on with the new system. Maybe, you know, it's a different length. Maybe that's why the flex pipe hits down there now. Oh no, it went on a little bit more. Just give it a little shake. I think we're almost there. Yeah, I think that's about good. I mean, okay. Ooh. I can't wait to be done with all this, dude. I'm gonna eat so much bulk. I can get so much muscle, dude, from all this work. I haven't been exercising that much, but dude, after working on this exhaust all day yesterday, my legs were so dead this morning. Literally, like all I did was squats and deadlifts yesterday is what my legs felt like this morning. Okay. Oh, but you know what? The original exhaust had a pipe over these two pipes, and when I replaced it, I put a pipe inside the two pipes. So it is actually, the clamp might actually be a little bit too big. Is that it? Yeah. It's not going to work. Oh no, slide this whole exhaust back out? No. No. You know what, I might just cut these off because I really do not want to slide the exhaust back out. Because this doesn't fit. So I'm just going to cut it here and save you guys some of the pain. Alright, I decided it's way too much work to slide this whole exhaust back off. So I'm just going to leave these clamps that don't fit on here for now, because I'm going to be replacing the mufflers, you know, at some point. Anyway, so basically just slide these out of the way, and I'll tighten them up with some like filler material or something so they don't rattle around. We'll just go back to our trusty U-clamps here. Get a nice little exhaust leak in the cabin, you know? Everybody likes a little exhaust in the cabin. Okay. Go. What size are those? 9/16, really? I guess so. Alright. Okay. Alright. We're going lubeless here. No lube on this one, boys. We're going in dry. I'm excited though. This, you know, I had an Audi A4 1.8T manual B6 for years and years, and I loved that car. I wish I had done this stuff on it. I wanted to, but, you know, I just never did it, because it's like, well, the APR tunes, I used to look online. I remember they were $500 for a while. Then I remember I looked and they were $700. I was like, oh, I'm definitely not getting one now. But I just found this place that was only charging $400, so I finally did it. Of course, it came out to $500 after the fact because of tax and labor. So, but, you know, $500 is not that bad to, like, double your boost and stuff like that. I don't know how much boost it adds, but definitely adds a decent bit. The APR graph goes from the stock torque is 150 and the tune torque is 250. Stock horsepower is, I forget, the torque goes up by 100, the horsepower goes up by like 25 or 50. And it adds a lot of low-end power. But, Yeah, I mean that 1.8, the A4, I did do an intake on it, sort of butchered it. Not nearly, I didn't do nearly as nice of a job as I did on this one. I literally just like took out the airbox and that was it. I didn't even put a filter on it. I was so dumb. I mean, it ran good. It definitely increased the power. And I just like, when this rusted out on my A4 the same place, I just didn't replace it. And that was basically my free-flowing exhaust. And where I was living, somebody hated me and they were like denting my car every week, which was crazy. And I was like, it was a crazy time, but yeah, I wish I'd gotten the tune for that car. Because man, when you were in gear and like giving it gas, going around a corner on like an on-ramp, it was really feeling good after the free-flowing exhaust and intake on it. It was really feeling sporty. It was so much lighter than this car. But like I say, I don't really fit in those A4s that good. It's nice to have a car that is comfortable to sit in, that, you know, big enough for your body. Full-size car for a full-size man. 6'1", so. I was 5'11" and 7/8 for most of my adult life. And somehow I just gained another inch in my late 30s. I don't know how that happens. I guess I did some bulking or something. Yeah, I did. I did a couple bulks. I don't know if that's what did it or what. Or I was lying down a lot too. Maybe my spine decompressed because I did have a tree fall on my head when I was 16. Probably compressed my spine or something. I don't know. Or all the years of sitting at a computer definitely compressed my spine. So I think just like laying down and letting your spine stretch out a lot and like eating a lot of food. So I was very skinny. I just like bulked up and stretched out and gained an inch and a half somehow. All right, dude, we're pretty much done. Although we got these shitty clamps on now that are, oh my god, should I just cut them off? I think I might just cut them off. Well, I'm gonna leave them for now. It's basically done. We're gonna start it up, guys. We're gonna go on a test drive. And we're gonna edit this video. So that's my biggest weakness with making videos, is like I'll video tons of stuff, but then I'll just never edit it or post it. So we're gonna try to go through with that part today. Hopefully. I'm excited to give this a rip though. Alright, I'm down to 13% battery, but we got it done. So you can get a little... I'm interested to see how loud it is with a downpipe and an intake and a tune, but the stock muffler and resonator will be interesting. Dude, it's so quiet. You can hear the turbo though. That's crazy, the turbo spools. At 1100. So awesome. I heard a tick. I hope that wasn't bad. Oh no, that's, I don't know what that is. I think the exhaust quieted it down so that I can hear more engine noises. Listen to that turbo whistle. She's whistling. This is pretty sweet, guys. Pretty excited. Hopefully there's nothing behind me where I'm backing up. Alright. This is where I went for the tune in Massachusetts. Speed Life Motorsport. Alright. Holy shit. Dude, I barely touched the gas. That's not even like a quarter throttle. Oh my god. Holy shit. Oh my god. I'm not even exaggerating. Oh man, I might just keep the stock mufflers, dude. It spools up, no problem. It might not even be too restrictive since it's such a small engine. Oh yeah. It's weird you can hear like that blow off recirculation noise because, or the choo-choo, the flutter noise. It shouldn't, I don't think it should be making that sound. I think that means the recirculation valve might be clogged or not working, because it should be blowing off into the intake. And if it was blowing off and, you know, recirculating back into the intake with the blow off, then theoretically, I don't think you would hear a turbo flutter. Normally you only hear a turbo flutter when there's no blow-off valve or recirculation valve. So, but you don't even know if you can hear it or not until you get the air box out, because that it quiets the noise intake so you can't hear it. But with the intake freed up, you can hear the flutter. Nobody working at the shop right now. Oh, look at that. They got a Del Sol on 5 spokes. Okay, okay. All right. I respect it. Oh, there's that nice little exhaust smell. All right. Oops. We're in neutral, boys. That's like half throttle, maybe. I'm honestly afraid to give it like more than half throttle since the tune, because like the transmission was relearning after the tune. Oh, it definitely smells like exhaust in here. Need to fix that clamp under there at some point. But overall, I'm very happy. Yeah, so after the ECU flash, the stage 1 APR tune, the engine was revving way up. Like normally you touch the gas and you start driving, but like it was almost like it wasn't dropping the clutch until higher RPMs. I know it doesn't have a clutch, it's an automatic, but that's what it was like. But then it stopped doing that after a while. So I'm pretty sure the transmission just was relearning. And so some of the shifting was a little bit concerning to me, like maybe it was gonna break something. But after it's been like, 3 or 4 days now, and it seems to be shifting normal again. So, I wasn't afraid to give it half throttle there. But I mean, this car's 20 years old. It's got 120,000 miles on it. It's like a really nice cruiser. It's reliable, it's quiet. I don't want to break it, So I'm afraid to go full ham on the gas pedal. But dude, it's like half throttle again, dude. This car is so fun now. Holy shit, it was so... I literally now, like half throttle now feels like flooring it before the tune and the intake and the exhaust. Oh my god. Okay, this thing scoots now. I am super happy with how this came out. I might not even put free flow mufflers on it because it's quiet and it's nice to have a quiet car and listen to music, So, oh, it's still baking down there, just like with the... Oh look, it's changing colors. Starting to be a little bit blue. You can't really see it on camera, but around the O2 sensor in person is blue and purple now. It looks kind of gray on camera. That's cool. Yeah, I have a heat shield that goes in between the filter and that downpipe because it is really hot right here. And if I left the hood closed, it would just bake everything in there after shutting off the car. And you can even see on the hood, it's hard to see, but like all the paint has been baked off and it's like all dull right here from the turbo and the cat baking everything after turning off the car. But overall, man, this thing scoots now. I'm so happy, and it's got a quiet exhaust and it scoots and it's free flowing. Like, I'm pretty excited. It really goes now. It's like a whole new car. It's like twice as fast, I would say, as it was before the tune and the intake and the exhaust. So it's pretty exciting. I might someday do free flowing mufflers and like water injection, but for now, man, I'm happy I did this. It's so awesome. It goes so good now. And it's quiet, except for the turbo, which, I want to hear, but there's no like annoying exhaust,